And welcome back to Completely Unoriginal. Adam St. Paul here along with Tony Tubzer down in Redfield. As always, we are flying as a duo today rather than a trio, as Kurt Campbell is off for the rest of the week on some vacation. And we didn't have a show last week because we were kind of swamped with the high school football playoffs and whatnot. Our teams are done now, so we're back on track, and we didn't want to go without doing a show for 2 weeks. So we are here, just the two of us, a little handicapped today. How you doing there, Tony?
Just a little thing here I'm going to say, and that is that I believe that Kurt Campbell right now is playing the new Fallout. I'm pretty sure that's exactly what he's doing right now.
Yeah, I don't think he would deny that. He was a little sick at work, so he's either playing Fallout or he's licking his wounds because he was a little sick. So, but yeah, I don't think anything's gonna keep him away from Fallout. So, Tony, are you a video game guy, Tony?
I play a couple games. Like, I beat the Arkhams and stuff, and I play a lot of, like, old stuff, because I go on, like, the Nintendo Network on the Wii and the PlayStation, and I try to get up, like, all the old games and stuff, like the old Mario games and stuff. So that's kind of what I play, but not so much. I mean, I play a lot of Grand Theft Auto 5 just because it's kind of mindless, and after a long day, you can just kind of go and it's really cool. I can go and hang out with, like, my friends that live across the country and go do stuff with them when I'm bored, So that's about the extent of my gaming, though.
Yeah, I was a big gamer when I was a kid, and I'm not so much anymore. I don't know if I don't have the time anymore. I played the Arkham games. Those are really, really cool. I got a 360, thought about getting a PS4, but I'm just like, man, I don't know when I'm going to have time for this. I don't even have kids yet, so I can't even imagine you with the kids that you got, that you have a lot of time to, do anything on the old Xbox or PlayStation.
Well, it's nice. About 9 o'clock the kids go to bed, and the wife doesn't come home until 11 o'clock at night. So I have that 2-hour spread that I can pretty much do what I want. That's when I record a lot of my tube review stuff. But I would really like a PlayStation 4, just because of the fact that Star Wars, the new Battlefront, is coming out or came out. And I was a really big fan of the PlayStation 2. Actually, I think I played it on Xbox, the Battlefront 2. And the original Battlefront was good, but Battlefront 2 was really good.
Yeah, I remember.
I can only imagine what this one's like.
We used to play those too on the old PlayStation 2. But not here to talk about games so much. You brought it up, Star Wars. We had a kind of a long show on it last time. You guys were ripping into me just for not being as excited as you guys were for it. But this is a feel-good story, so no ribbing this time unless you got some leftover ammunition, which could be possible. But this is a story about a man named Fleetwood, and I believe he lived in the United Kingdom. Is that correct?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, and he was a Star Wars fan, and just a giant Star Wars fan, and unfortunately passed away. He was diagnosed with a terminally ill disease, so, it goes without saying that he doesn't necessarily have a whole lot of time left. But in the end, they were kind enough, the folks at Star Wars or the folks at Disney, whoever it was, his dying wish was to see the new Star Wars film, The Force Awakens, and lo and behold, Disney confirmed that they allowed him to see it. And that, to me, is just an amazing story. I mean, in so many different ways, but I just want to first off hear your opinion on it.
Well, I think it's a real tribute to Disney and also J.J. Abrams for allowing that. I mean, that's really, really awesome of them to do that for him. And I guess they said it was unfinished. I can only imagine what they couldn't have finished by now. It comes out in a month. But no, I mean, in a true fanboy style. I mean, seriously, straight out of the scenes of Fanboys, they allowed it. Hopefully, he had a little bit better of an opinion on it than the prequel one was at the end of Fanboys. What if it sucked? So yeah, I mean, it's really sad that he passed away, but not like we didn't see it coming. It was just kind of it was really cool that they did that for him.
Yeah, I mean, then when you talk about what they don't have finished, I'm sure there's probably a couple of visual effects that aren't exactly completely tuned up yet. I'm guessing that's what it is. I mean, all the major filming and principal photography has to be completed. I'm sure they completed that probably half a year ago by now. But so that's probably what they meant when they say unfinished. But, maybe I'm wrong here, and maybe I'm giving Disney too much credit, but it seems to me I'm shocked that they did it just because you watch the trailers and you go online and read about this and stuff. They have done such a good job being so secret and preventing leaks that, it's really hard to get any really, really good information exactly about what's going to happen in the plot and whatnot. And I'm sure they had him sign release papers and things like that said, you can't talk about it or whatever. But at the same time, he's also dying, so what does he have to lose?
Right. And honestly, I mean, who wants to be the company that denies the dying guy his last wish, So I can totally see that happening, and them just kind of saying, okay, well, we're going to do this just because, stay good face with the public, because the public would have eaten them alive if they would have said no.
Well, they could have just claimed that they never heard of him. I mean, I think that'd be just deny, whether it's true or not. But that would be my first course of action. Disney didn't do that, though, so I think you got to give them a lot of credit. And it's just, I don't know, I can't imagine. Granted, I've never been faced with those kind of odds, where it's like, listen, you're not going to live past the age of 32. I believe that's how old he was. But he was a relatively young man, and some doctor tells you, listen, you're not going to live past the age of this or whatever. I can't even begin to think what my quote-unquote dying wish would be, and it's just so unique, and it's amazing to see that he had such passion for something, and he enjoyed something so much that he was, he knew exactly what he wanted to do before he passed on.
Well, this hopefully this isn't a little too dark or anything, but if it happened to me and I was given a couple months to live, my dying wish would be, when I am cremated, I want my ashes scattered at a few different places in the United States, and I want it to be like a nice little road trip for my kids to take together. And so I'd like to do that with my family, and because my wife's never been to Missouri, where I'm from, and stuff. So I'd like to show my family that stuff before they take that road trip. That'd be my thing. And hey, if I could catch a screening of something of something that's yet to come out on the way, that's sweet too.
For sure. In other news, the Mystery Science Theater 3000, or MST3K as it is known widely by fans, has announced a Kickstarter page, or a GoFundMe page. I'm not exactly sure what it is, but the creators of the show, which is, of course, just a long running show, believe it or not, based out of St. Louis Park in Minnesota. And just basically, I know every person has seen it in one form or another. You've been exposed to it through osmosis somehow, and it's three guys, or rather a guy and two robots, sitting down at the front of a movie theater and basically ripping on bad movies. And they want to bring it back. There's a Kickstarter. You yourself have started a change.org petition or something like that. You want to host it, but so first off, we'll start there. Tell us about it.
Well, I have mixed emotions about it today, because I was informed this morning that there was a Reddit interview with Joe Hodgson, the creator, the guy that's trying to bring it back with his Kickstarter campaign. There was an interview with him where they asked about the new host and stuff, because everything that I had read up to that point was saying that if this project goes through, then we're going to be looking for a new host, and we're going to have a new host and new comedians doing the robot voices and a new mad scientist. Well, at that point in time, all the stuff that I'd read, and I'd read a few articles by that time, that's all it said. And so I was like, well, I'm going to put my name out there, because these guys are from Minnesota originally, or Joel Hodgson's did it out of Minnesota originally and stuff. And so it was kind of like, well, maybe I have a shot. So I put something out there, but this morning I was informed of the Reddit article, and I did read that. So, they've already chosen some the cast and everything there. So I don't have a shot. But hey, maybe for future, if something doesn't work out, maybe you're like, oh wait a minute, there was that one
guy. There was that one guy for sure. But even though sorry, your dream's crushed at this point. Even though, Tony, that is the case, are you excited the fact that it's coming back?
Oh, absolutely.
Or I shouldn't say that. It's they want it to come back.
Oh, I want it to come back. I want to see new stuff. And I'd like to see who he's got, slated for the roles as host in The Robots and Mad Scientist and everything. And I'm totally stoked. I mean, and hopefully it sounds like he wants to kind of bring it to, a younger generation and everything. So possibly, a little bit newer films, because the guy that took over for Joel, Mike Nelson, he does riff tracks, which is basically the same thing. They just don't have, it's not the characters sitting in the movie theater. They just riff on movies, but they riff on newer movies, like they do The Dark Knight and everything. And he actually does it with the guys that played Tom Servo and Crow. So, there might be mixed emotions from fans about the new casting and everything, because, I mean, honestly, when I watched the video, they had the new people out there. I didn't know that they were the new people. I thought they were just people that they had, for it. But they had the new guy out there, and it sounds a lot different. It doesn't sound like Crow and Tom Servo and stuff. And honestly, I thought that the guy in the middle, the human, his voice would have sounded a lot better for Tom Servo.
That's the most interesting thing I think about this whole MST3K is that it never officially went away. The idea is so golden that people do it today now. Like, have basically ripped off MST3K, where you quote unquote riff movies. You watch movies with friends and you simply make jokes about what's happening, how bad it is and goofy things like that. And when you mentioned the riff tracks, they've been doing that for years with the internet. And that's the most unique thing. It never fully went away. And now it's just a huge, huge market on the internet when it comes to nerds and comes to movie fans and it comes to things like that. People want content, and even if it's a movie they've seen before, they want to hear jokes being made about it, basically. And if you've never seen an MST3K episode, you can, check it out online. They have them on YouTube, basically. And I think you would do yourself a service, and I like your idea too of exposing it to a younger generation. Kids probably do grow up with the riff tracks nowadays, with maybe their favorite actor, comedian doing it, because it's not just kind of a reserved niche for nerds anymore. It's become much more mainstream, so it's kind of cool that it's coming back. Probably like, hey, we started this. Why can't we get this piece of the pie now?
Right, yeah, absolutely. And even the Screen Junkies, they just had, I think they did Leprechaun 4. They riffed on Leprechaun 4 on the Screen Junkies show. And so, I mean, yeah, it's out there, and I think that it's a brilliant idea from the word go. From way back when they started it, it was something that monumental in my eyes, in the ways of the kind of the nerds and the movie lovers out there. So
it's a unique situation only because of how available it is. Like I said, it never fully went away when Mystery Science Theater went off the air. And you have even probably done it yourself, speaking to our audience. You have even done it yourself without even knowing it, simply by putting in a movie, whether you expected it to be bad or expected it to be good, and you start, making jokes about it, because it's not hard to do. There's these movies that they watch, which, for people out there listening, for Plan 9 from Outer Space, Monos, The Hands of Fate, the list goes on. And of course, like Tony said, they were doing more up-to-date movies, online with the riff tracks. You've done it yourself, because these movies that are so terrible or unique or strange just provide so much material that you can just come up with right off the top of your head.
Yeah, and honestly, if you go back, there's it's either from the 60s or the 70s, but there's a George Carlin stand-up album called Class Clown, where he talks about, back when he was a kid going to the movies with his friends. He was like, my buddy little Jimmy over here, if he could burp on command as long as he wanted all the time. And he's like, and if somebody on that screen opened their mouth and didn't say anything, Jimmy would add the dialogue. So it's been going on for years. So I mean, it's for them to bring that to us, and for them to keep bringing it to us, and heck, like riff tracks did Twilight and stuff. I would love to see MST3K do, some newer movies, the terrible ones like Fantastic Four, Terminator Genesis.
Yes. This is also kind of a product of the time, in that if you look, I think just pop culture and Hollywood and everything in general, is returning for nostalgia. You look at movies like, even though it was terrible, you look at movies like Pixels, and you look at other instances of bringing back these old movies and bringing back these old TV shows and these old things that people remember from their childhood and remember from their, formative years. That is really big right now, and it clearly doesn't seem to be going away anytime soon.
No, and I look forward to the future of it. I really do.
It really hopefully gets better from here. Tony, anything else you want to chat on today?
What's that?
Anything else you want to chat about today?
Sorry about that. Let's see. Not so much. I mean, there's been a lot of stuff kind of going on the last couple of weeks and everything. I think we covered most of the big stuff, like in the ways of Star Wars and everything. I'm just excited for the Hateful Eight. I watched the new Alice in Wonderland trailer. And that, the first one was pretty good. I don't know, what do you think of Alice in Wonderland?
Well, I'm glad you brought that up, because I remember you saying that you watched that with your wife, and I don't know, I thought you said that she liked it, if I'm not mistaken. But I went and saw it in the theater, and I just couldn't. I hated that movie. I'm sorry. I did not care for it in the slightest. I paid 3D to see it, and that was like one of the movies where I was like, okay, done with 3D. Because it's completely pointless. They put in a couple of scenes here and there just to, throw something at the audience, blah, when it's completely out of place. I didn't care for it at all. I just thought it was like this sepia tone, just hellscape, Tim Burton kind of throwing Johnny Depp out there in silly hats and seeing what he does. Johnny Depp's performance was fine. I don't really know how you can play a Mad Hatter, but it's just, I didn't care for it. I'm sorry.
Well, and here's my take on Alice in Wonderland is I don't know enough about it. There's there's all those like deep hidden stories and like the big long versions of it and stuff. And I honestly, going into it, I'm just kind of like, okay, well, I don't really know what's canon and what's not. So I just kind of went into it with a child's eyes, kind of going, okay, well, let's just kind of see what it's like. And visually, it was kind of cool and everything. But I mean, it was kind of blah for me in the ways of a movie, but I guess I really had nothing to base it on because I never watched the Disney one, like the old Disney one, and I've never really gotten into that story. So it's kind of like my wife wanted to go to it. We went to it in the theater as well, and I was just kind of like, okay, well, it's good for what it is.
That movie made over $1 billion, Tony. Can you believe that? I mean, Alice in Wonderland, a remake, made over $1 billion. That is just mind-blowing to me.
Well, I mean, dude, little kids and nostalgic people our age eat that shit up, man.
But the thing is, like, it's not really for kids. There's tons of eye gouging. Not tons, but there's a couple of cases of eye gouging. The Mad Hatter has a PTSD backstory. There's a decapitation. I mean, it's not really for kids.
Yeah, I know, and and they need to start bringing out rated R versions of all this stuff.
There was like a video game or a computer game years ago called, I think, just Alice, and that's basically what it was like a really dark rated R version of Alice in Wonderland, where like Alice carried a knife and the Cheshire Cat looked really evil and ugly and things like that.
Yeah, never played it.
Never did either, but I just remember it.
But yeah, I mean the new one looks like a sequel. I hate Sacha Baron Cohen so much. I really don't like that guy. Like all his little characters and such, I'm just not a big fan at all. So when I saw him, you can even watch my trailer reaction on Tube Review. When I saw him, I'm like, what the? I was just like, oh, come on, man. That set it back for me. But it is what it is, and I'll watch it and see what it's like. But yeah, but I'm gonna do a Tube's trailer review. I haven't done one of those for a while, but I'm gonna do a Tube's trailer review this week on the new Warcraft trailer as well.
Haven't seen that yet. I never was a Warcraft player, but might have to check that one out. Tony, it's been a lot of fun as always.
Yeah, indeed, and hopefully Kirk feels better and has a good vacation and plays a bunch of video games.
Absolutely. Yeah, you've been listening to Completely Unoriginal right here at DakotaBroadcasting.com. I'm Adam St. Paul, and for Tony Zur, until the next time.